Morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well today. My name is Tim Ayler, meteorologist, and today is Wednesday, the 25th. We're dealing with the Clipper system moving through the northeast this morning with cold temps to the north of it, right? Right, and so some cold temps in the single digits to below zero up here in northern plains into parts of the upper Midwest, and some intermountain west action here with some snow and rain and spotted throughout the area, but not very impactful this morning. So, like I said, not a lot going on with the exception of this system moving through the northeast. And this is all snow here, the exception of maybe down into Delaware, where it could be some rain showers. But I don't know why it's thinking it's rain here. But anyway, welcome to my channel. Appreciate y'all watching. Like the video if you like it, subscribe, share with your friends, and so let's get started here with the current hazards. As far as current hazards go, we got some wind-related advisories here out west with red flag warnings, wind advisories, Texas, parts of Louisiana here, New Mexico, Colorado, Kansas, and parts of not Kansas, sorry. Yeah, Kansas and Nebraska here, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, and Utah here with some winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, and up into Oregon here, Washington State, excuse me. We got winter weather advisory here, some weather advisories in upper Midwest, parts of the mid-Atlantic and New York State, Appalachians with that Clipper system moving through, and freeze warning down here in southeast Georgia and northern Florida as well. So as far as today, for most of Georgia, we have highs in the 50s, upper 50s to near 60 in northern Georgia, approaching 70 degrees in southern Georgia, with a chance of rain up here in the northern part of the state. Moving on to tonight, excuse me. Generally highs in the upper 40s, mid 40s to mid 50s for the south, with highest rain chances up north here, and a slight chance of showers here for the south. Into Thursday, we have highs in the 50s for middle North Georgia, 60s to near 70 in southern Georgia, with a chance of rain in far northern Georgia. Well, as far as the 15-day temperature outlook, starting today, highs in the 60s for central Georgia. Coldest temp is this morning, right? Generally in the 70s to near 80 degrees as we get towards the middle of March, middle of March here, excuse me. Well, it looks like we have some variation in the temperatures as we get towards the first week of March here, possible around the second or third, but overall way above normal for highs and lows through the period, at least according to this forecast right now. So no severe weather is expected in the next 3 days, but we do have a chance for general thunderstorms in parts of Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, and Wyoming today. Also in Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, and Arkansas, depending where you're at. Also parts of Illinois and Indiana. Tomorrow, the thunderstorms move further to the south with that rainfall pushing in here, right? So you see this area here where we could have thunderstorms with a few gusty winds possible here, but severe weather is not anticipated. And this boundary moves further to the south here. Parts of central South Georgia, the southern part of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and all of Florida have the chance for thunderstorms on Friday. So thankfully no severe weather expected during this period. When we look at the hazards potential for the next week, this is the Weather Prediction Center outlook, right? It shows different hazards are possible during this period, the 7th through the 3rd, right? So there's some potential for high winds in the northern part of the Intermountain West up into the northern high plains here. Hazardous cold is possible here as well, the 28th through the 1st. These high winds on the 27th. Hazardous cold is possible up here into northern Maine, parts of northern New England here, right? And so hazardous cold is also persisting here until Alaska, the 27th through the 1st, with high winds as well, the 27th through the 8th, and high winds Aleutian Island chain here as well. As far as the short range forecast, this is a simulated radar from the NAM. Goes out 60 hours, right? We got your moisture out west here, which we were talking about. In the long range forecast discussion, we will talk about. We have our Clipper system moving through the east here, with some snow in the Appalachians along the east coast here, and probably some gusty winds as well when this moves through. Okay, we're going to reinforce the shot of cold air, then moves offshore. Maybe we get some snow here. The system beginning to take shape here in the south. Some snow into the plains here, the Ohio Valley, and just some leftover lake effect bands and moisture in the north here. Band of snow right along this boundary here a little bit. And then the NAM really doesn't want to do much with the northern edge of the system, um, right? But we see the stationary boundary setting up here in the south with some heavy rainfall potentially the Friday into Saturday. So otherwise, it looks pretty quiet for most of the U.S., with maybe the exception of North Dakota and Montana here. Montana, maybe the extreme upper Midwest. So the South looks to be get a soaker on Friday, right? You get this initial push, and you get some pretty heavy push of rainfall here through. Okay, so other than that, in the short term, there's really not a lot going on, right? So as far as temperatures go, let's take a look here. To start off with this, pretty cold, right? For most of the nation, with the exception of Texas. They move through time with this, warming up quite a bit in the south here, near 80, maybe 90 degrees here, southern Texas. Cold air stays entrenched in the northeast, right? We've talked about that. It's been colder than normal for most of this winter. Move through time with this. You see generally, 50s and 60s for the deep south, with 30s and 40s and 20s up here in the northern tier. So I would say, not too bad as far as temperatures go. Let's zoom into the east real quick. So compared to what it has been, 30s, 40s, maybe some snow will melt here. Overnight, you get a cold push of air, although not too bad, right? 30s, still close to about freezing, right? And then warming up a little bit more. So you see the 60s down here as well. Go out west, right? Coldest air is up to the north here in the northern plains. Cold air pushes out some, right? So that's good, right? Not quite as cold. 20s and 30s. You see the 90s down here near 100 in the desert down here. Incredible down here in southern Texas. So Intermountain West, of course, is cold, right? Which we expect this time of year. So overall, not too bad in the short term for temperatures. So as far as snowfall, what are the expected amounts through Saturday? Well, out west here, it looks like we have the most to start with here, with the continuing part of the atmospheric river, but that wanes over time. And we start through Thursday, the highest amounts of up here in the Great Lakes area, with maybe some lake effect snow, and into the plains here, right? Out west here, you see the moisture kind of leaves the area here, maybe up into the northern Cascades, get some snow. But overall, not that impactful of snow here through Saturday, really, with the exception of maybe the beginning of the period that you see here, and even in Iowa, in those areas, not expecting heavy precip. Maybe the heaviest would be here right along the Lake Ontario, lake effect favorite areas here, and the Appalachians, right? And these are just terrain induced enhancement, and also along Lake Superior here as well, some higher amounts as well. But other than that, if anybody tells you that we're in for a major snowstorm in the next 5 or 6 days, I would say you're probably not right there. So I don't know why I just zoomed out there. All right, so that's the snowfall amounts expected through Saturday, Friday night. So as far as total precip amounts, this is the QPF, which means liquid equivalent, right? So the highest liquid equivalent here is up in Washington State in the Cascades here. It's here in the Nevada range to start with, right? We start this off. Highest amounts, of course, with snowfall here as well. Some rain in the Tennessee Valley here through Thursday. And you move through time here. This rainfall is pretty heavy up in here, right? So go back to the totals. 1 or 2 inches maybe total through Saturday. But this is when it starts to pile on Thursday, Friday, with a stationary boundary in place, slowly sagging southward here into Georgia, Alabama. And looks like it's going to be a rainy day on Saturday as well. So we're going to go over that, or we have, I can't remember. Well, anyway, we're going to go over that. Talk about that in the forecast today. But yeah, through Saturday, it looks to be unsettled here as we get towards the end of the week in the south. So, but no flooding risk expected here. So one of the things we look at as forecasters is the NAO index, which is the difference between the pressure in Greenland and the Azores, right? And up until recently, it was either neutral or negative, right? Maybe a little positive here in the middle of the month. But you see it's going positive here, and expected to go positive and stay positive through the first part of March here. So what does that mean? So I'll show you that real quick here. With a positive NAO pattern, you can see the flow here, right? Right, so you got the jet stream flowing pretty quickly here with not a lot of blocking. So this is going to prevent systems to doing what the system recently did along the East Coast, really slowing down and moving from south to west here, right? So we have higher pressure at the Azores, a lower pressure, comparison between the two, okay? So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be really low, but it's lower than the Azores high. That's what we get here. So generally, the jet stream is more progressive here, enable colder air up into Canada here, and a boundary setting up um, in between here. And that's what we're seeing right now. A lot of west to east flow with systems impacting the East Coast quickly, at least from now on, right? The last one was a little bit different. And we have more unsettled weather in Europe as a result of this as well. So that's the current pattern we're moving to. This is generally the negative NAO blocking pattern, right? So we just show you a positive, higher pressure in Greenland, right? It also depends on where this is actually placed, right? I mean, this is a conceptual drawing, right? But in general, you have a more northwesterly flow along the eastern seaboard, less impacts out west, right? Okay, in general, okay. But more of a blocking pattern, so the systems aren't as progressive here, okay. Doesn't mean you don't get dips in the jet stream here along the East Coast, things like that. It just this is a general idea about what blocking means, right? So that's kind of the pattern what we just came out of, right? So there's other factors, of course, on the West Coast, WPO, EPO, other things that can impact the weather out here as well. So this is just the idea that the NAO is not in a blocking pattern right now. We go back to this. This is your positive NAO pattern, right? So, and yes, I had AI draw this, but I also evaluated it based on it take me forever to draw this, so I don't have the time to do it, or I would, but um, anyway, I think you get the idea about positive versus negative NAO here. So when we look at the next week or so, week and a half, right? 6 to 10 temperatures, 6 to 10 day temperatures, right? The March 2nd through the 6th look to be in a northwesterly flow of continuing here in the northeast below normal temps. It's interesting because this keeps keeping the northeast keeps getting pushed back into this cold below normal temperature regime. Partially, I think, due to the snowpack. The snowpack reflects sunlight, so especially fresh snow. So that is probably part of the reason why it's below normal at this point. Not the whole reason, but that's what's going on, right? So you go until Alaska looks like it'll be below normal, but the rest of the continental U.S. will be above normal here, it looks like. Above in Hawaii and below in the Aleutian Island chain. Now we move 8 to 14 days out. It's looking like it's going to warm up here, and we talked about that in the extended range forecast. We'll have to see about the Northeast, but you know, the tendency has been for it to reel it back here in the Northeast. So we'll see what happens here. Maybe part of it will depend on how much snow we get up here and how the snowpack impacts temperatures in the short to midterm. Below in Alaska, above in Hawaii, and below in the Aleutian Island chain during this period also, with the exception of southeastern Alaska here. As far as precip during the 6 to 14 day period, this is initially the 6 to 10 day period. We're looking at maybe below normal precip in this parts of the southeast to above in southern Florida. And the central U.S. looks to be pretty active here, and maybe even the northeast, but out west, the exception of the northwest coast, may be above but below normal, extended inland to the parts of the Intermountain West and the northern high plains. Below to near normal in Alaska, precip chances above to near to below in Hawaii, and near to above in the Aleutian Island chain. Move a little bit further out. A good portion of the nation looks to be above normal as far as precip goes, with the down in southern Texas, which is a nice change. May have some mid-level flow type systems impacting these areas and moving to the north here, right? Because if we project the flow on this would indicate we have a flow like that, right? Generally, or like this, moving from southeast to northwest, right? So wherever this sets up is where we're going to have the most moisture, okay? And maybe a split flow bringing some in this way as well. So below normal precip expected out west here are possible, right? And right along the eastern seaboard. And let's see here. Get this to come off. All right, below normal out west here. In western Alaska, near normal, and central, maybe, yeah, Alaska above eastern Alaska here, above the near normal in the Hawaiian Islands, and near normal to above in Aleutian Island chain. So that's it for the 2-week outlook for the precipitation. So we look at the overall picture here for the North America, right? Starting off, you know, we got our system moving away here that impacted us a few days ago. And we have some northern stream energy moving through the flow here. Some energy moving along the west coast, but you see kind of getting strung out here, right? With high pressure generally building out west. But we have a boundary that's just sitting up here, right, along the eastern seaboard, okay? It's interesting because you know, there's no real true blocking here per se, but you know, there's pretty high pressure up here, but not that far south. You know what I mean? So the systems are very progressive, although the high pressure is nosing down here into the eastern part of the U.S., which it's been doing all year. You have persistent onshore flow up here into Canada, right, which brings northern stream energy through Canada into the east, right? But again, progressive. And the boundary in the southern part of the U.S. will bring some potentially heavy rainfall down here, right? Another system moves through the northerly flow here, really moves far north. Then you have a push of colder air and more moisture. This is Sunday, March 1st, right? So unsettled pattern here for the northeast and parts of the northern plains, right? And cold air persisting here. Maybe a brief warm up and some more moisture moving through. Then we potentially get a low pressure developing in the middle part of the country, overriding moisture here, right? And this could be an impactful event. This is Monday, March 2nd, right? This is 5 or 6 days from now. But it moves through pretty quickly here, okay? At least during the GFS. Unsettled weather continues moving through here. This is Wednesday. A lot of disturbances moving through the flow here with this pattern. moves out into Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, right? And then the GFS is predicting here around the first week of March, a warm up for the eastern seaboard, um, right? And then that's where this ends, 7 March. So what does the European model show? Go through time here. Here's the European model. We got our Clipper system on the west coast, kind of just really drops out here, right? Get some rainfall, and in the south, potentially heavy here in some areas. The west coast dries out, and you have northern stream energy. It wants to develop this low potentially offshore here, but doesn't do much with it, right? Some more northern stream energy moving through, but you see the cold air is just along north of this boundary, okay? And it has another system into Monday interacting with this boundary like the GFS does, but brings it a little further south. So where this ends up landing is important for this event, right? But it's looking likely we're going to have an impactful event along the eastern seaboard again. But again, it's progressive here, right? Another system moves through Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which we talked about. Low pressure developing here. And it really wants to crank it up here along the eastern seaboard. If we go back to the GFS, this is loading. Takes a little while. It presents a somewhat similar scenario here. So go back to the Euro. All right. We'll see how this sets up. This is Wednesday, March 4th. Still, unsettled across the Northeast. And the European isn't aggressive with the warm push here as the GFS. We get towards the extended. Although it does hint at a little bit of a warm up here and maybe some rain to the Northeast when you get towards the end of this model run. We'll look at anomalies in temperatures for between the two models. We start off with colder than average on the East Coast up into Canada, but warmer than average here in the Midwest, the High Plains, Intermountain West, and cooler than average out west here a little bit. Warming up in the Intermountain West some, and this is GFS, still staying relatively below normal here, and partially due to snowfall and snow on the ground. Above normal temperatures streaming up into Canada as well through the plains. You see very cold air pooled up here into Alaska, which if it's tapped into could potentially, drop in the continental U.S. here, at least for a few days. Boundary setting up, maybe warmer than normal temps here into Saturday, right? A little bit. But then it cools off once again, doesn't stay warm very long. And we have colder than normal temps again along the eastern seaboard. And cold air is building up to the north here again, and maybe warming up into the Midwest, northern high plains, parts of the northern high plains, the central plains, but still staying somewhat below normal along the eastern seaboard or close to normal here. Right out west looks to be below normal again. We get towards 7 March here. The GFS, as we showed, it's really wanting to build some really warmer than normal temps way up into Canada here. All right, so let's switch to the European. It has a somewhat similar solution, definitely a possibility for a warm up here in the eastern seaboard, at least for a few days. And then we'll see what happens after that. When we look at week 3 to 4 temperatures, still looking to be above normal for most of the continental U.S., with the exception of maybe out west here, the northwestern part of the U.S., with equal chances above or below. Below in Alaska, continuing here, it looks like through the early and middle part of March, right? Above in Hawaii, and above equal chances are below, depending where you're at in the Aleutian Island chain. As far as precip goes, got a wide variety here of below to above to equal or below or above here out west as well. So quite a variation here, but not a lot of confidence either way, with the exception of maybe up here into the Midwest and maybe the Northwest U.S. above normal precip chances. Trending below here in Alaska to equal to above, and far southeastern Alaska, above in the Hawaiian Island chain, below to equal in the Aleutian Islands as well. Well, I appreciate y'all watching today. I know the weather's kind of boring right now after the major snowstorm event we had on the East Coast, but I appreciate y'all watching, and I'm glad we get a little bit of a break here from the intensity we were pushing over the past couple weeks. I was really kind of exhausted, so I'm glad to be able to sleep in a little bit. I guess if 4 a.m. is sleeping in, then I guess that's good. But no rest for the weary. We always got something to talk about the weather. Like I said, I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all take care and God bless.